Hey everyone, it's Dr. Julie Tiane coming to you from a new beginning and a healthy way out with another COVID coping psychological tip to help you manage emotionally through this pandemic. This is a new series alongside my partner in change, Dr. Ashley Southard, that we're offering to you in hopes that it will help you manage yourself and your emotions through this pandemic. You know, it's 6 months since we entered into what we thought was going to be 2, maybe 3 months of COVID. And while we want to be positive and we want to continue to have an optimistic outlook, sometimes that's difficult. We are all beginning to miss our friends, certainly miss hugging our friends. We miss the freedom of moving about, without worrying about masks or infection. We miss traveling, and we certainly miss just going out to the movies or coming together. It's very difficult at times to stay positive, even though we all hope to be able to embrace this with as optimistic a perspective as possible. Well, I know as a psychologist that one of the most important things that you can do if you want to live in an authentic, positive place is to allow yourself to move through negative emotions when they are present in a genuine way where we can validate and embrace them and actually walk through them as part of a healthy process. Now, what am I talking about? Well, sometimes when life gets you down and you want to get to the other side of it, the first thing you need to do is throw a tantrum. In fact, I call it a good old-fashioned psychological tantrum. What does that mean? That means allowing yourself to fully embrace the negative and then to do something actively with it as a means to process through it. I'm going to give you 3 strategies and tips that are my favorite for moving through negative emotions so we can get to the positive side in an authentic and lasting manner. The first thing we need to do, well, it's always my favorite thing, is download our negative feelings in the form of journaling. Good old-fashioned stream of consciousness writing that allows us to, in an uncensored way, just get our feelings out. There is something very positive about being able to put words to our emotions and then doing something active with it, like writing, as a way to facilitate our psyche's natural processes of moving to a place of well-being. The second tip I'm going to offer you is to be able to download with good friends. Don't be afraid of being a Debbie Downer. There is nothing wrong in healthy acknowledgement and venting of normal emotions on the negative side of the spectrum, again, as part of a healthy process to eventually get to the healthy, positive side of the spectrum. So please reach out to friends, allow yourself to enter into that space, and I bet you anything, they're going to do the same thing. You will both appreciate the honest emotional intimacy, and you'll probably both feel better as a result of it. The last tip that I'm going to offer you, believe it or not, and yes, I am a licensed clinical psychologist, and I am going to recommend screaming in your car. Now, what in the world? Well, sometimes we need to allow ourselves to just really get the physical energy out of an emotion. And a lot of times the clients that I work with are kind of inhibited. They feel like, oh my gosh, what if somebody hears me in the house? They feel kind of embarrassed and they don't want to be seen as negative. So I say, you know what? There's no better personal space than in your car. Let yourself vent if you need to. Let yourself let out the emotion through a scream. Sometimes we end up laughing at ourselves through the process, but at the very least, we are able to really discharge and externalize some healthy emotional energy that feels negative so that we can open the door for the more positive to come through. So what am I saying in throwing a healthy tantrum? I'm saying acknowledge the truth of your emotions. Validate that at times we can feel very down, we can feel very angry. Let's not try to sidestep it, thwart it, or suppress it. Embrace it fully and do something actively to externalize those feelings. I've talked about journaling. I talked about downloading or venting to a friend. And yes, I talked about screaming in your car. This will then let your psyche do its job. It will then move through the negative and it will then shift into the positive, where we can be more genuinely hopeful and positive, and we can work on making meaning of this unprecedented time. Making meaning out of the pandemic, guess what? It's going to be my next COVID coping video. It's wonderful to be able to give you these positive COVID coping tips as a service to you during this very difficult time. I'm Dr. Julie. You take care, be safe, embrace those emotions, and trust that you will always get to the other positive side. Bye-bye.